Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube vlog from Barton All Burner Services. And as you can tell, it's dark because the clocks have gone back, and as always it's just busy and we end up working in the dark more than we seem to be in the light at the minute. Obviously that's not true, but it just feels like it at the end of the day. So thanks for everyone that actually watched our video last week, and it was a great one because it had Holly seating in it. We thought it was great, and yeah, we had a few really nice comments there about Holly too, so thank you for that. And do also, like always, feel free to subscribe. So on to this week's vlog. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I know it's a breakdown. It is approximately, well, 6:05, and I'm off to a job, and it's just come in, and it is a boiler smelling. So they're not sure if it's fumes, if it's oil, or what it is. So yeah, I need to go there and have a look. The lady's in her 90s. Unfortunately, it is like 45 minutes from me, and I was going to go do something else, but I need to get to this one. It's pouring with rain, it's very chilly, and we need to get her warm again. So yeah, I'll let you know what I find when I get there. Hopefully it'll be nothing exciting. If it's anything exciting, then clearly you will see, won't you? You'll be the first to see. Just going to go through a couple of bits about breakdowns. I don't understand, but people get really confused when it comes to breakdowns and stuff like that. We try to explain things to people on phones as well. So the most important thing to do, and this is to everybody out there, and if you're an engineer, then clearly I'm probably teaching you stuff you already know anyway, but if you're a customer or just a general public watching this, really simple stuff. If you have an oil boiler and it doesn't work, check some obvious things. Number one, is it turned on? i.e., is the main switch turned on? Is the programmer turned on? Are all the thermostats up? If you've got wireless thermostats, have you got batteries in the thermostats, etc, etc? And if you have, that's a really good start, number one. Number two, have you got oil? Okay, if you've got a gauge where you pull and you check the oil and you're not sure, dip it. If you've got an electronic gauge that you think's been stuck in the same place for ages, dip it. If you haven't had oil for more than 4-6 months, dip it, because the likelihood is you've run out. If you're sure you haven't, that is the time to pick up the phone and ring us, unless you want to do a couple of checks yourself. The most important check to do is to pull the front off most boilers. Obviously this isn't all boilers, and at the bottom normally you'll see a red or amber light that's glowing at you, occasionally flashes. Just put your finger on that amber light, push the button in, count to 2 and let go. The boiler should then fire into life, and then maybe it will keep going. But if you're having to press it more than twice in a day, we still need to attend. If that doesn't work, then have a little look at the top of the boiler. There's some overheat resets and stuff like that. For example, on a Grant, you undo a black cap on the right hand side and you push the reset button. That might start it. Check the basics first. If none of this works, or you manage to maybe reset it and then it stops you a few hours later, that's the time to call us. Okay, we'll fit to an engineer's point of view. It's basic understanding of a burner. That's all you need to know when you're doing boiler breakdowns. Okay, so again, if it's all turned on, you can hear the motorised valves have opened, you can hear the circulating pump going, and you know there's power to the boiler and the burner's locked out, you know clearly it's a burner issue. Okay, let's go a bit deeper there. If it's a burner issue, they go in a particular way. It's a really easy sequence. You turn it on, the first thing you hear is you hear the fan go. The reason the fan goes is just a pre-purge to get some air going through the combustion chamber and up the flue to allow air to circulate and just get it going, get some momentum going. At the same time, on most burners again, you've got your spark at the same time, and you've got like your pump pressure. Sometimes on some burners, some you haven't. After about 10 seconds, click, coil, solenoid coil, it lifts, boom, the boiler fires into life. Simple as that, away it goes. Okay, so you've now got your fan going, you've got your pump pressure, your coil's lifted, obviously you've got ignition there to ignite it, away it goes. And then after approximately 10 to 15 seconds, it cuts out, i.e. the spark cuts out, and then the boiler should keep running. Okay, if the boiler doesn't fire to start with, it could be lack of pump pressure, it could be lack of spark. They're the most common things, unless it's humming at you, and that's capacitor. Okay, if the boiler runs for approximately 10 seconds and cuts out, the likelihood is it's not reading the light, i.e. photocell, or it's sooted up, no fuel, stuff like that. They're your basics. If you go in with them very basic skills and that very basic philosophy in your head, as you go through your different sequences, you will work out pretty quick what's going on. Has the coil lifted? Has the motor spun? Can I hear a spark? Did it ignite? Can I see fuel or smell fuel? You know, they're the most basic things to know. If you know all of that, you'll be able to fix boilers pretty easy. Now, I do know it's not as easy as that, because one, the fuel or the nozzle's got to be correct, and it's got to have the correct air, correct combustion, etc, etc. But again, I'm telling you basics. And yes, if it's Riello, it's different. It basically has a pre-purge, and then it sparks and lifts the coil at the same time and immediately turns off the photocell to say it's running and away it goes. So that's a little bit different. And if you've got a Riello and it runs and runs and runs and runs and runs and doesn't fire, it's a photocell because it's open circuit. Right, so there's all these little things, but that's experience. But just get the basics and then go from there. Anyway, I've probably gone on far too much, so I'm going to go to this job now. I'm going to turn up and let's hope it's straightforward, and if it's not, well, I will show you. Okay, I'm on my way to this job, as you can see, before I get there, and you can see we get down some right dodgy roads around here, and it's always a bit concerning because I might not see anyone for like, I don't know, if I park on the side of the road, I might not see anyone for like half, 3/4 of an hour to an hour. And it always worries me, if you ever come off the road, who's going to find you? It's one of them, isn't it? Okay, but this is the middle of nowhere, and this is where it's nice to have a reliable van, number one, and number two, it's late. Just take your time driving. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're a few minutes late. You just got to get there in one bit. But you can see it's pretty awful tonight. It's pouring with rain, and yeah, the roads are very thin, and it's just a bit dodgy. So yeah, I'm only a couple of minutes away, thank goodness, but it hasn't been the nicest of journeys, if I'm really honest with you. Okay, so I've just got here now, and you always know it's going to be a good one when you get out your van and you tread in an absolutely mahoosive puddle. So now my socks, shoes and legs are wet. Brilliant! Here I am. It's a Camray 5 I've come to. I've walked in, I can't smell oil, I'll be honest, so I've had a little look down here. And it looks pretty dry, very dusty, but it looks pretty dry. So I'm suspecting maybe it's when it's running. So it is actually locked out, but I did just press the reset button first, so it's turned off here. Okay, so we're just going to turn it on, we're going to have a listen. After about 10 seconds, it should fire. That sounds totally blocked. So I'm guessing either the nozzle's gone down, it hasn't been serviced for ages, or it's the dreaded soot. And now I can smell it actually. Now it's tried to fire. I think I'll find the boiler's sooted up. So it's going to have a thorough clean, which is a bit of a pain because it is like 7 o'clock at night. First things first, safe isolation. So we're just going to turn it off up there. I'm going to pull the burner plug. I'm going to pull the mains in. I've taken the balanced flue hose off, even though it's not actually a balanced flue hose. There is no balanced flue on this. It's just there for quietening purposes. And I've just taken the 13mm off there as well. And as you can see, if I stand up, because I can smell it, dust sheet down, tools here, hoover behind me. So we're all geared up in case it is what I think it is. So we're going to be really careful. We're going to put the torch here so we can see. We're going to back the burner out. Okay, as we can see, it is full of soot. Absolutely solid. So it's going to need a full clean, a new nozzle. I need to see why it's done it. It could just be a failed nozzle. It might even be a mouse on the air intake. It could be a failed pump, too much pressure, stuff like that. So I'm just going to have to dive a little bit deeper now. You can see it's not clean, but I've got all the soot off that at the moment. Okay, it just needs a bit of a finishing off there. There's the nozzle down there. You can see it's filthy. So I can imagine the nozzle's failed because it's like got a very like bright bit in the middle. So I should imagine the little disc in the end of the nozzle has failed, and that's where all the oil's coming from that's caused it to soot up. So top tip of the day: when you are doing a sooted up boiler, and people just do not do this, the hoover's got to be on all the time. Hence the reason I can't talk to you as I'm doing the job. Okay, now the trick is to have it on all the time in the bottom of the boiler for a start. Okay, i.e. when you're cleaning inside the boiler, you have it through there most of the time, and then it will just keep all the soot out the air and keep pulling it back inside the boiler. The second thing is when the cover comes off behind here, so if I just lift this off like so, and I pull this off here, you will see the two screws, two nuts even. When I undo them two nuts and I start to pull that back, I start here and I go and I suck it, okay? And then as I pull it back, I suck it, and the other side of this, I get my hoover in and start hoovering in it. And I lay it down very gently in here. I then clean it and I put it out of the way. And then I come back and I clean in front of the baffles. And then I start to pull out one at a time and I put them into the tray and I clean them into there. Now, this is a good one to have a tray in the bottom, and quite often, as you've seen in previous videos, I do have a separate tray. However, I cracked it this morning and I'm having another one coming tomorrow, so I won't be doing that. Okay, but in this case, it will go in there. Now, this boiler is full to the brim of soot, which I'll show you in a minute, but there's absolutely no way that I'm going to make a mess. And if you do your job properly, you will not make a mess. The key is hoover on all the time. Take your time very slowly. Doors are shut in this house. No one must open any windows or doors or move in this house, because it will literally, all the soot will come out the boiler. If it's a balanced flue boiler that goes through the back of the wall, then what you would do is put a bag over the flue, especially on a windy day, because then it will stop the soot blowing out of the boiler. It is literally as simple as that. Before I do the other side, I'm just going to check to make sure it's not going to come out. And here we go. I'm going to lift back. Sit back. Now I'm just going to take the first bit out here. Right, so as you can see, I took the front lid off and I had my hoover underneath to check nothing was going to come out. Then I flicked it forward and then I hoovered it, and now obviously it sits down there. And now behind here, as you can see, there was a lot of soot in there. I've just hoovered the front out. Now it literally can't fall out. Okay, so now I'm in control. I've put no dirt anywhere at all. No one's opening doors, windows. It's nice and peaceful and quiet in here, and I'm just being very, very careful as I go. I'm now going to pull the top baffle out and I'm going to start cleaning it, followed by the second, and in this case there's 3 in this model. Once I've done and cleaned them, I'm going to clean the side, the top and the bottom parts of the boiler, including the other side of here, this face here. I'm going to get all the soot out of the boiler and make sure it's all perfectly clean, put it back together, and then I'll be onto the burner. You don't really want to see me doing this, so I'm just going to crack on with it. Just bringing your attention to this. This is a well sooted up boiler. I'm going to get the hoover on in a minute, but look, it's deep. Look at all that. doing it very slowly because I haven't got my hoover on and I don't want anything to get in the air. But that is just dirt. And on top of that boiler that's built up, and then eventually what it's done is it's reduced the flow of air going up the chimney, and it hasn't liked it. That's what's caused it to sit up. Filthy dirty. Okay, I need to get my hoover on, I can't keep doing that. But that's basically why this has happened. As you can see, lovely and clean now in there, okay? And the combustion lid, it's stained, it's clean but it's stained, okay? And the rope seal doesn't look that old actually, nice and soft, okay? So that means that the combustion lid can go back on now. As you can see, I've cleaned this boiler, and all I've got is a tiny few little bits left in the bottom of the boiler that I'll wipe out, okay? Clean, okay? There's no need to make a massive mess when you're doing a stitched up boiler. You just got to take your time, and like I said before, the key is just that hoover. Just keep that hoover on all the time. I'm now over to the burner. Okay, we're going to do some checks, just like a service, because it's broken down and it's stitched up. You're basically doing a service on it. Okay, so I'm just going to take the end cheek off, and what we're going to do is we're just going to check for, see if there's any restrictions in it, like a mouse or anything like that. We're going to stick that off there, we're going to come down, and we're going to turn it round. So far, nothing. Very dusty. I'm going to have to clean that. Okay, I'll move them to one side, and we'll go again. So if I get my torch, and I shine it here, you can see it's really, really dusty in there. Okay, but there's no physical object in there, but I am still going to give it a good clean. I just think it's in a really dusty cupboard, and because it's not on balanced fluid, so I know it's been vented, I just think it's pulling it in, and I just think a combination of all this dust as well as the dirt in the boiler is what's just sent it over. It's made it have not enough air into the boiler, and I think it's just restricted the air through the boiler, and it's just like having a carbon choke really. What it's ended up doing is it's just ended up sitting it up, and that's what's happened. You have to excuse me if you can hear the dog in the background, because he hasn't worked out yet that there's no point in eating me, because if he eats me, he won't be able to lay in front of a lovely hot radiator. And the worst thing is, it's a little terrier, so you know what they're like. Anyway, as you can see, this is just where dirt is accumulated on here, okay, and around here, and it's accumulated in here as well. It's just like really, really dusty. Don't know if you can see that dropping onto the ground, but yeah, it's just here. I just need to clean this fan assembly, clean in here, and also just clean in here as well, like that. But I do all that with a hoover because I don't want to make a mess. Okay, and then I'll put all that back together, and we'll go on to the nozzle and have a little look at that. A little word of advice: when you're doing a sooted up boiler, because the boiler obviously builds up lots of soot, it ends up then pushing back against the burner, the blast tube, and inside the burner. And then what happens is the boiler eventually locks out. The reason the boiler locks out is because of this, the photocell. It has to detect light, but if I pull it out and turn it over, as you can see, it looks like it's got a solid black end, but it hasn't. If I give it a little wipe, you'll see that it hasn't got such a black end. You can see the bit of glass in the middle. I've got to give that a really good clean. That's where it detects the light. Once that's covered from the soot, that is when it will stop running, and that is the most important safety device on this boiler. It's brilliant and it works a dream. The dog's still trying to kill me to the other side of the door, so you have to excuse me, but there we go. Look, I've cleaned that. Can you see the reflection on the end now? That's a lovely clean floater cell, so that will now read the light like it's supposed to. So I'm just going to check the nozzle now. I'm obviously going to replace the nozzle. I'm then going to check the fuel pump. I'm going to check the capacitor. I'm going to check the coil, HT leads, electrodes, stuff like that. I'm not going to go into it deeply because we've seen it before as per previous videos, and you've seen me physically do this burner. Okay, so I'm going to crack on a bit now. So I'll be totally honest with you, I've jumped on about 45 minutes now. The reason being is because it's coming up to 9 o'clock. The lady is really elderly here. I think she wants to actually go to bed soon, but also she wants some heat in her house. Secondly, the dogs have been sending me mad, to be honest. They keep barking, but I do think that they've gone a bit quieter, which is good. So here you see, as you know, this boiler was solid. Look at that, okay? You'd never know that was full of soot. And that's how it should be. It should be clean. I've given the bottom a bit of a wipe, but I haven't gone and, you know, everywhere else. Look, it's still got the dust down the side. I need to hoover it. You know, I haven't gone mad. I've just done there. And you can see how good it is. And basically, I've not made a mess. Bit on my mat, but there's going to be. But I'll be clearing that up in a minute. And here we go. So since I've been with you, I have done the nozzle. I've done all my final tests. I've fired the boiler. I've had the boiler running for approximately 15 minutes. And then I've done a smoke test. When I've done the smoke test, it wasn't quite ready, the boiler, so I run it for another 10 minutes. And then after that, it was clear. I put my kit in it and I've set it at approximately 11%, okay? And at the moment, it's absolutely purring along. So here we go. This is the difference between last time and this time. So you'll hear it will just give a nice little boof in the background. Here comes a dog and away it goes. There you go, absolutely purring, okay? Unlike the dog that's barking. So I'm just going to do my final test. I'm going to clear up and I'll be back. Another happy customer. I've jumped a little bit again because of the time of night. So, you know, I can see the lady, even though she was so grateful for heat, and she was really grateful, she was also very tired. So yeah, really happy. I've had a really good clear up. I've wiped the floor, even though there's nothing on the floor because it's all on my dust sheet. I've wiped the boiler. I've hoovered all the dust from beside the boiler, had a good old tidy up, and a little touch from us. We always just spray a little scent into the air, just makes it smell a bit more fragrant. I just want to cover hoovers really when you do switching up boilers. I've always used a Henry Hoover. Henry Hoovers are fine. Yes, we all know we have to undo them occasionally on a really switched up boiler and rattle the bag and then put it back together, and it sucks for a bit longer. But just recently, because my old Henry blew up, I just really quickly bought a Titan Hoover, and it's one of the M-class ones which has an additional filter in it. And it's revolutionised my life. Yes, I do still have to have a little shake of the bag now and again, but I've 95% lost the smell. You know, I've just done I've seen worse boilers than what I've just done, I'll be honest, but it was pretty bad. It stunk, but when I finished, the room didn't stink from my Hoover. The filter took all the particulates out. It was fantastic. And at the end of the day, when I finish, what I then do is I've chucked the Hoover bag in the bin and the filter, because to put a new bag in and a filter is like £7. And, you know, just charge the customer £7. At the end of the day, when you go to your next customer, you haven't got the horrible smell in the Hoover. You know, with a Henry, you give the filter a good old rattle, you clean it all out, you change the bag, but it still stinks for about 2 days afterwards. But I don't seem to get it with the Titan. So I'm not advertising the product, it's just personal opinion. It seems to be a bit of a game changer for me. Anyway, done. I'm on my way home now. It's 9:30, so it's got pretty late. I'm not going to do the job that I was going to do. It's only a little job. I did pre-warn them I might not be able to make it. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. So yeah, a bit of a shorter video, a bit different to normal maybe. Been hard to record something this week. It's been so busy, you know, I haven't always got time to do stuff, so we can do it what we can when we can really. So as I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks again for everyone that subscribed. Feel free to comment, always love a comment, you know what it's like. And yeah, have a lovely weekend everybody. It's getting colder, getting windier, not great outside, so until next time everybody, stay safe.